Hi everyone, this is Ronnie, and in this channel we're here to help provide you some support, some education with the raw vegan lifestyle. And for me, from those of us who practice it and interested in it, this is truly the best diet and lifestyle for humanity, for humans, not just for your own personal health, psychological health, but for our environment and for changing our world into more of a paradise for ourselves, with fruit trees all over the place and all the rest of it. And years ago, but this video is about me giving up eating meat and why I don't eat meat, because some of you that watch my channel still eat meat, and sometimes I'm still amazed that people are still eating meat. Like, I don't know why you're doing it. I don't know why you would do that to yourself. Maybe you are used to self-abuse or something. I'm not sure what it is, but or maybe you're just ignorant, and that's I understand that side of it. But there's people that are still eating meat. Why did I give up eating meat? Why do I continue to not eat meat? The last time I ate meat would have been probably 8 years ago. No, that's probably not long enough. 8 years ago, 2010, maybe 9 years ago. Probably 2010, because I thought I'd actually went vegetarian then vegan like with over a course of a few years, but I think it was actually almost within a year that I cut meat and then I went vegan. So leading up to that point, I was not very aware of nutrition. I hadn't really studied it or looked into it or learned about it, but I had made some dietary changes already. I'd cut out sugar, I'd cut out caffeine, I added more water to my diet. I made these little changes. So I was making changes. I was moving towards a more whole foods, a more healthier diet slowly, and reaped the benefits and felt relatively good and saw some benefits. But something I remember very clearly was when I gave up eating sugar, I thought that was it, that I'd figured out diet, and it's funny because there's still some carnivores and different people out there that still eat sugar, that still eat these processed products and keto people and all that. I gave that up years ago, and as I say, got the benefit, but I remember thinking that all of the thing about cutting down on fat was wrong. I wasn't very deeply into it, but I just remember thinking that, and so I remember having milk that was like really high fat milk and stuff like that, because when you're not having anything sugary, then the only other things that have any sweetness are milk and fruit and maybe like honey, but I didn't like honey, so milk and fruit and a few things. So I remember doing that, but I also remember my heartbeat, how I perform when I was exercising. Like, there was just always that feeling of some kind of restriction, something not working right, my heart not beating in a regular way, and all that stuff. And I think that's common, that's normal for people. I think the people have already damaged themselves very much by adulthood with the standard diet. But I was really on a kind of path of personal development, spiritual development, meditation, all that kind of stuff. I was interested in that. I was interested in energy, in connecting with this higher consciousness, and all that kind of stuff that we're all kind of vaguely interested in at points in our life. And I went to classes and different things, and I went to this one class, and the teacher said, if you keep on working with this energy, you might change your diet, to go to like a higher vibration or whatever. So I wasn't really sure about that, and at the time I remember I was still eating meat and McDonald's and eating whatever, but I wasn't eating sugar, and I wasn't eating, I think I would cut out caffeine by that point. So I remember not really thinking I would change my diet. I met another guy in the class. He said he'd changed his diet, and he was a big guy, and I thought that's kind of interesting. But I was never against vegetarianism. I just didn't do it because it wasn't my habit. But I didn't look down on people that did it. I had an uncle that was vegetarian when I was younger, and he's still a vegetarian today. He's been a lifelong vegetarian, and so I never kind of it wasn't such a weird idea for me. And I remember always thinking I would probably end up going vegetarian someday because it just seemed to make sense. Like, why are we killing animals for this? Like, I just didn't think deeply about it. I didn't want to confront that. I just wanted to stick with my habits, right? I gave up eating meat. One night I came home from the class, and what I'd realised is over a number of weeks I'd been thinking about it for the first time ever. I started to think about it, and I heard someone on the radio or something, and he said that Tesco, just Tesco alone, for all its products and everything, it had to kill 20 billion chickens a year or something like that, just for the UK. That's just a UK supermarket, one of them. And in the past, and for most people that eat meat, that's just a number. It doesn't really mean anything. But when you start to think about it, you go, 20 billion. That's a lot. You know, like, that's a tremendous amount of energy and resources and animals being killed, and every single one of them being killed. Like, that's an awful lot. And then you just start looking around at all the products, and there's chicken in that, there's chicken in that, there's chicken in that, there's chicken in that, there's chicken in that. And you just think. You start thinking about it. And when you think about it, and you keep thinking about it, and the reality of it, you just start to go, this is weird, like, this is something not quite right about this. And then I went to my girlfriend at the time's parents' house, and they were making this steak pie thing. And I was like, I remember just not really enjoying the steak, and for the first time I was like, wait, meat isn't that enjoyable. It's not even that tasty. Like, I just remember thinking, this rubbery, like, stuff, like, I'd rather clear that away and eat the sauce and the pie crust and the potatoes and the veg, you know. That was way more enjoyable. And I was just like, there's something, and it was just, I just started to think about it. And one day I came home from the class, and I just didn't feel like eating meat anymore. So I didn't have any nutritional research. It was not about health, really. It was not something, it was just through thinking about it, through intuition. No one at the class ever forced it on me. No one ever said, you need to do this. It wasn't that. Just one night I came home and didn't feel like eating meat, and I said to myself, okay, I won't eat meat tonight, but if I want it tomorrow, I'll just have it. That's the approach I had. If I want it tomorrow, I'll have it. If I want it in the next few days, I'll have it. So, woke up the next day, got on about, I think I went to work and everything, felt okay, thought, okay, just keep on with not eating meat. And I think that night or the night after, I was meeting my girlfriend, and we went to a restaurant in Glasgow called Stereo, which is a vegan restaurant, and I ordered the wheat ball something, like his wheat ball sandwich. And I had that, and I went, you know what, this tastes just as good as meat. Whatever I thought meat tasted like, because meat doesn't really have any flavour. So, I thought, I can do this. This will be easy. But I also said to myself, if I ever really want to eat meat, I'll just eat it. And I never ate meat after that ever again. Never had a craving, never had a moment, never had a desire. Completely not tried it, touched it, tasted it since that point. You know, that's not to say there might not have been something accidental or something that was a fried in the same oil or something. I don't know, like when you're eating cooked food and everything and going to restaurants, then who knows, but intentionally, there was no intention to ever eat meat after that. And the benefits from that immediately were, that's what I noticed, you know, because I wasn't thinking it was a health benefit necessarily. I didn't know for that for sure, but what I felt in myself I felt over that week a kind of elimination happening. I, I don't want to use the word detox, it's an overused word, but I felt like an elimination, like something was being thrown out, like kind of eliminated from the body. And I thought, yeah, this feels better, this is better. And I never got very, I wasn't like studying myself. Like my digestion was always fairly good on any diet, apart from when I was a child, when I was really badly constipated a lot of the time. Of course, eating a meat diet, of course you're going to be constipated. But when I got into my, especially when I gave up the sugar, I was eating more whole foods, more carbohydrates. So improved the digestion a lot. Meditation, I think, improves the digestion a lot. So anyway, I'd given up meat by that point, and noticed a few differences, but not radical, huge differences. Just noticed a few things, and I thought, yeah, this is pretty good. But continued to eat dairy products, cheese and eggs and all that. So I think about a year later, when I started to think, okay, maybe I should go vegan, because I was naturally, gradually moving away from the animal products. Because I would eat eggs, and then I would, you smell eggs on the way in, then you smell eggs on the way out, and it's really unpleasant. It's like, that's disgusting. And I just started to dislike that. So I started to cut down on eggs. I'd always noticed all my life when I drank milk, my throat would just immediately fill up with mucus, like just mucus city, And I couldn't sing properly or talk properly, my nose was stuffed up and all that stuff, mucousy, milky thing. So I started to cut down natural milk. I started to move towards this rice milk. But I was living with my parents at the time, so sometimes I would have the normal milk. It wasn't like 100%, but I cut down on it a lot. And I was going down that process. I was going down that journey. And then I went vegan, and I remember at the time just before going vegan that I had these pains. I'd started to gradually get these pains if I went out for a walk, these pains in my knees or my hips started to get these pains. So I went vegan, and that's when I gave up the milk and everything, and that had another huge effect. Like cutting out animal products 100%, and then your pains in your hips and knees just disappear immediately. Like that's amazing. That's really amazing, big change. So why do I continue not to eat meat? Once I started to learn more about it, because I didn't really think it was more healthy. I wasn't really thinking, it kind of felt better. And at first it was this kind of, I've realised that some people are, like myself, kind of get into the nutritional thing through the spiritual side of things, where you're kind of like, how can I become more conscious and all that stuff? You start to look into that side of things. So I was kind of on that path with meat. The reason that I still don't eat it, when I started to look into learn about the nutrition side of things, the first thing is that we don't need to eat meat. So human beings, the main source of our calories should be from carbohydrates, which are plant foods. And we require fiber for optimal digestion, and we don't require meat for any specific nutrient. Meat is almost entirely, I always thought it was protein, and I get it. Some of you still think meat is protein. What I learned is meat is actually just a huge amount of fat. You're taking in the fat of the animal. You're taking in the saturated fat of the animal. And what I learned, I started to understand what this saturated fat thing is. Saturated fat is obviously this nutrient in animal foods. It's only in animal foods basically, although oil can act like saturated fat. And it does damage to the body. It damages the endothelial lining of the arteries. That leads to scarring, that leads to damage called heart disease, atherosclerosis, the kind of damage, the blockage of the arteries. That's what happens in a high saturated fat diet over the years. The high amount of protein can lead to damage to the kidneys over the years. The acidity of it, the difficulty of digesting it, causes all sorts of problems, just causes havoc for the body. So it's connected with cancer. It doesn't have any, as I say, it doesn't have carbohydrate, it doesn't have fiber. It's such a poor food for human beings to eat. The only thing that meat has going for it is that it is highly calorie dense. But I don't think people in this world are starving in the Western world. I don't think that's what we're worried about. It's a very calorie dense food, you know, and if you live out in Alaska or something and you're living in the forest in Alaska, then yeah, that's probably the only thing you're going to live on is killing a moose or something. But for everyone else, that's not an option we require. So that's the only really good thing about eating meat in terms of our historical past, is it was a big source of calories. Taste wise, it has almost no taste because human beings do not have the taste buds to taste protein. We don't taste protein, and we really don't taste fat. Add salt to it, different story, but take the salt away, no taste. And people usually add salt, sugar, onions, different plant foods to try and give meat, like desperately try and give meat flavour, desperately. Garlic, all this stuff, but it's basically bland, it doesn't have any flavour. So you've got this bland food, it's rubbery, you can actually choke on it. A lot of people choke on meat. People actually die choking on meat because our saliva is not designed to digest it. Our teeth are not optimally designed to eat meat. Carnivores tend to have a biting kind of jaw that grabs meat, tears it off and swallows it, because you can imagine that's what they have to do. They're grabbing like a big animal or something, or not, they're grabbing it and trying to swallow it. That's not, we have this jaw that goes like this. It's for grinding and for chewing, and it's for frugivores in particular, and we have teeth that are frugivore teeth. And meat eaters have different teeth and have very, very sharp teeth for cutting into flesh, and we don't have that. In terms of our actual stomach acid is not optimal for meat. It is for fruit. It's a very low stomach acid for digestion of fruit, and when we start to add more animal products into our diet, we have to create more acid to digest them. That can lead to heartburn, acid reflux, things that I suffered from in the past that I no longer suffer from. We go down into the intestines. We have a very long intestine, which is different to carnivores that have shorter intestines. And what we find is that meat is actually connected to various digestive cancers like bowel cancer, colon cancer, and meat has been linked to these, and the World Health Organization for that main reason calls processed meat carcinogenic and red meat probably carcinogenic. So there's another reason not to eat meat. It's a carcinogenic food. Meat is also connected with food poisoning. So food poisoning is one of the few foods that we allow in the supermarket that can literally poison you. We put it in, we just leave it in there all the time. Eating meat raw is a way to poison yourself. So we have to cook meat, particularly chicken and other sorts of meat. We have to cook these to make sure that we do not get various bacterial poisons, toxins that will cause havoc with our body. So it's a source of food poisoning. It's because it has no fibre. It's connected with constipation. When you see people who are on the meat diet, they often don't go to the toilet regularly. They're constipated. They seem to talk about that being a good thing or something, that they don't go to the bathroom once a week. That's not what you should be doing. That's you causing damage to yourself. So fascinated by that. Now that's just the health implications, like it damages your health, causes heart disease, obesity, diabetes, you know, it does all that stuff. It's damaging, totally damaging, cancer and all that stuff, can poison you. Really, really bad food. But let's get to other aspects. Well, and we don't even need to go into this, the environmental damage caused by livestock. And this delusion that people have that we can have grass-fed beef, like, there's no way we can have grass-fed beef. There's not enough grass. There's not enough land. The amount of land that has to be cleared, the forests that have to be cleared to grow soybeans for cattle that are all boxed into small areas. Like, imagine you just let them all out onto the plains that they like to pretend exist. It's not out there. There's not enough land for that to happen. If you go to a small village, like where my dad grew up, a small village of hundreds of people, they had massive land for their cattle to roam, and that wasn't for eating the meat, that was for like milking animals. That wasn't that you were going to have steak all the time. That was milking the animals. And if they were to have meat, it would be more likely fish, if they were going fishing or something. But they weren't. That massive land for letting the cows go out and the sheep, the sheep were used for wool, the cows were used for milking, the horses were used for pulling things around. They were feeding the animals because they were using the animals for growing crops that were their food. Their food was the crops they were growing, not eating meat, because that was just impossible for them to do. There was not enough land to have that amount of animals. It just was not possible. Just the economics of that purely are not possible. So the idea that we can then multiply that up by 1 billion people and do that in the world is ridiculous. It's not possible. Totally not possible. We have to cram animals into small spaces, and we have and you can't use grass. It needs to be soybeans and stuff like that. Very high calorie foods, very concentrated high calorie foods, genetically modified and so on, that then get force fed to these cattle to make them grow quicker and everything else. This grass-fed myth is pure nonsense, and it's impossible. Meat is, I believe, as far as I can make out, it is a very subsidised area of food, and the prices are artificially low for meat because of those subsidies. So meat has a bad effect on the environment. We destroy a lot of land, a lot of forest and so on for cattle and for growing the food for cattle. The methane caused from the animal industry is another problem. This has all been written by the UN. This isn't quack research, this is the UN, United Nations, livestock's long shadow. So the world is very quickly going vegan, and people are picking up this message very quickly. And very soon I think people will be asking themselves, why are we eating meat at all? It's a really strange idea. Meat has been marketed to you for hundreds of years as being something healthy, good for you, full of protein, muscle, all that stuff. It's nonsense. It's total nonsense, just marketing nonsense, guff information. And for you, if you're still eating it and damaging yourself, I would suggest that you get off it as soon as possible. Go towards the foods for which your body is actually designed to digest, which are fruits and tender vegetables. But do the diet right. You have to eat enough calories. If you don't, you're going to fail, and you're going to be like a lot of ex-vegans and stuff like that like to blame their diet rather than their application of the diet for why they are not able to sustain the diet. So thank you for watching today. Why I don't eat meat. Spiritual reasons, I guess, karmic reasons, health reasons, environmental reasons, and yeah, I totally discourage you from continuing to eat meat or starting to eat meat. So thank you for watching. I know this was a long video, hope you got something out of it. Any questions, leave below. There's so much more in terms of the damage that meat does to your health. There's so much more to it. There's so many more parts to it. And the people that defend it, the research they use is so cherry-picked. It's so poorly made and researched. It often never even says what they say. Don't fall for it. Okay, thank you for watching.